Hello, today I want to present here Droopler. Droopler is a Drupal 8 based distribution which allows fast editing of content. Droopler was developed by a Polish company named Droptica that develops website with Drupal, Symfony, React, and all those modern technologies which you see on my screen right now and on their website. So based on their experience with Drupal and modern technologies and building websites, they abstracted their work, their dozens and hundreds of hours of work into the distribution, which they called Droopler. And they made it available for free. And this is what I am looking at. I really appreciate such things. There are quite few Drupal 8 functional distributions. One of them is Buddha Modern's Thunder. Another is Acquia's Lightning. And this is one, Droopler by Droptica. So I tell you about them because I am thankful that these companies make their huge experience and time abstracted in the form of those distributions available for download and reuse. It's a very, very good tool for smaller businesses who can have a lower start, so to speak, building Drupal sites. A terribly nice thing to do for them. Okay. So let's look about Droopler. Let's look at Droopler, what it is and what it has. When you install Droopler, which you can download as a zip package, or you can download it as from the Git repository as a Composer script and install it with Composer. This is the sample content. When you install an actual website that you want to develop from, you can edit one line in the installer and not install this content. But as it were, right now this content is a good illustration of what this distribution is capable of. First, you can see that it's very modern. It uses the modern layout patterns that spin from side to side, have a generous use of images, background images, and layouts. The second thing that you note at once is that Droopler has a modern editing interface. Add above button, add below button, and content itself is built of paragraphs. This is also how modern WordPress with Gutenberg works. This is also how modern site builders like Wix and Weebly work. So this is definitely a step up from the default Drupal's editing interface, where you don't have to go and edit the page at the back end, but you can edit, delete, and add above and add below right from the front end. So what happens if I click an edit button? With Ajax, it loads the UI where I can add an icon and choose images and text. What happens if I add a new paragraph? It brings the choice of existing UI patterns, which one I should choose. And as a developer, you can add your own new UI patterns. You can see that it has 13 patterns right now. It has a banner which spins throughout the whole page. It has a form with a background image. It has a group of counters. It has a carousel, an image gallery, a group of text blocks that can also have images, a sidebar image. So this basically breaks the page into two items, image and text. Then you have a file subscription, where you actually have to subscribe to be able to download a file. You have a text page. You have a text with an image background, a sidebar embed, sidebar tiles, where you have in the sidebar 4 tiles, and tiles gallery. And you can also add your own. So you can see that some of them are pretty simple, like text page, and some of them can be complex, like carousel, gallery, counters, embedded form. So the easiest of them, if you were to implement those manually by yourself, some easiest of them would take like at least 4 to 6 hours for you to implement if you already knew what you're doing. Because for them, even the easiest ones come from their experience. So it's more than just do something quickly. They have been polishing and optimizing them for quite some time. And then some more complex ones can take up to a few days of development. So with 13 of them, you can easily say half a month to a month of work to implement and theme of them. And with that front end editing interface, you can easily say that it's at least a month of work, like 150 hours or even more of work of quality development experience just to implement that. And like I said, you can be pretty sure that they have been changing and modifying and polishing that. So a month, 150 hours is a bare minimum. It's much more work here. So when you get Droopler, you already have at least 150 hours of low start just with that. But of course this is not all. They have more things there. So these different pages, examples, they just show different patterns, how they can be used. This is a gallery. Oh, and this overlay, it can be disabled by disabling paragraph overlay. Slideshow, product landing page, buy now. Where does it go? Nowhere. All right. So this is that tile with many tiles in it, with a slideshow. All right. Testimonials. Let's see which one it is. Probably it's just a slideshow with text slides. Yeah. So you can see this is quite complex, and it works with different scenarios, so it has been quite polished. A lot of work here. Lots of work. Contact us. Let's disable. Okay. Contact us. Okay. It doesn't take us anywhere as well. I haven't showed you the contact form yet. I'm looking for it right now. Okay, so yeah, so this is an example of a contact form that has been placed inside a paragraph. And this is an example of the counters. How do they call them? Shortcodes? No, just a second. Counters, yes. So you can see that the counters have text, integer, and text, and yeah. So now with that, oh yeah, they also have blog, styled blog, and you can click on the blog post and see they also have paragraphs here, except they don't have a paragraph overlay here. So the paragraph overlay is reserved for the landing pages that support it. And this is because you can easily see that blog, it uses the full width images and text, but it wouldn't use those complex layouts that the landing page uses. If you edit, you can see that it's still paragraphs where you can move up and down, but it's just blog and text. And if you want to add, you can only add blog and text here, which is predictable and as it should be. Alright, so if you work with it, what will you want to do? First, you will want to install it without content, because really you don't want to go and delete all that content. So you would have to modify the installer. There is just one line in code to disable all this content. Then you would want to remove that button here, Droopler. If you click on it, it gets you to this page telling you about Droopler. So you would want to remove that. It possibly comes with just a module. Let's look at the modules that they have. It's core, chaos, tools, custom development, Droopler. Yeah. So Droopler blog, Droopler help. Yeah, so you would have to disable that Droopler help thing. Actually, you can see that they have also Droopler product, which has not been enabled yet. So there are some more interesting things there. Checklist API. I think that was built to possibly work with Drupal commerce that does not come prepackaged. So if you wanted to make it work with Drupal commerce, you could enable that Droopler product module over here. And you see these are their paragraphs. They come as modules. You can disable them, or you can write your own and complement that and carry them on into your own version of Droopler. For the search, they have the search disabled, but they have search API with facets, which is the way to go with Drupal 8. Yeah, so pretty much it. It's a very good, solid distribution. And you can, so if you were to work with it, you'd have to disable that help and Droopler button, and have that content removed and have your own content added. Of course, you wouldn't want to keep that theme. You would have to have changes to it. You would have to edit it. But then, of course, it's quite easy to make a child theme and just make changes reusing all those beautiful patterns, UI patterns. Then, as far as coding is concerned, Drupal uses SCSS with the Barrio theme, and Barrio is a theme. if you want to go with the Bootstrap 4, with the latest Bootstrap. So yeah, it runs as CSS with gulp. So to really take an advantage of it, you would need to install Node.js and gulp, and then it will be able to compile all that. And it compiles it into CSS. One good thing is that Sass allows you to manage your components in a smart way, in a much better way than you would just have a huge CSS file with tens of thousands of lines that you would get confused in and would have repetitions and stuff. And I have seen that. So CSS is the way to go. Now, if for some reason your developer does not use Sass, you can add an additional CSS file with overrides and use that Sass as a base with your overrides on top of it with CSS. So I hope that helps. If you are using for a generic tool to give you a low start, because like with those, like I said, you have about 150 or 200 hours. Actually, I would give it more like 200 hours, at least with those paragraphs. Then there are a few work days, at least like 25 hours of work with that blog. And there is much more background and polishing and testing that went into all that. And I'm not a part of Droptica team. I'm just trying to calculate the bare minimum time that went into that as a developer. And so when I say it's about like 300 hours, this is like the best case scenario. In the best case scenario, this free distribution has about 200-300 hours in it. And it's possible that it's been much more, because I know that once you start polishing and changing, and when you backport from your experience some other things, I can suspect there is much more than that, but you can easily count 200-300 hours of work right off in here. So yeah, I hope you find that useful, and that it helps you build a better and more professional Drupal website.